Samuel J. Wealthy Williams of Wilmer,
Texas. Thank you. And this interview is taking place at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. And it's sponsored by Humanities Texas as part of the HBCU Truth and Reconciliation Oral History Project. So we're just going to just sit and talk. I'm going to get to know you.
Okay.
All right. So can you tell me about your family life, like how you grew up, where you were born?
Yes, so my family is from Mobile, Alabama, but I was born in Tacoma, Washington. Most people know Seattle, Washington, but I was born in Tacoma, Washington. My mother went to visit and was headed to the train station to come back to Mobile, and went into labor at the train station. So she ended up having to go back, and I ended up being born in Washington State. But my family, we ended up going back to Mobile just for a short while, but for the first few years of my life, I came back to Washington when they lived, my older sisters lived in Mobile, and I lived with my uncle and his wife and their children. And she was Caucasian, and all of her children were Caucasian, and so until I turned 3, I lived with them, and then I came back to live with my family. So there was a little bit of adjustment, getting used to black sisters being my sisters, because that wasn't the way in the beginning. But we finally meshed together, and then my family all migrated to Washington State, except for my father. But I grew up in a single family household. I don't know how to really tell this story. I mean, I tell my story all the time. I don't really know how to tell it to answer your question, but I grew up with a strong mom, who just really did everything for us. I watched her lead. We grew up in a Christian household. She made sure we went to church all the time. I remember being in middle school and wanting to be a part of a gang, but I couldn't ever go because we had to go to Bible study, and we had to go to choir rehearsal, and we had to go to Sunday morning service, so I could never meet the gang member meetings because I was like, I want to be in the gangs. But then, everybody knew me as the church girl, so that's why all we knew was church.
So how many siblings did you have? You talked about sisters. How many?
So it's
sisters
5
and
of so on my mother's side, and that's who I grew up with mainly, it's 5 of us. So I have 2 older sisters and an older brother and a younger brother. I'm the baby girl of the family. So, we all grew up, except for my older brother, but we grew up in Washington State for the most part. I was the one that was always going to do it different. My older sisters, they were into rock, but of course I was into Michael Jackson and rap, but I was just always going to do it different.
So you said that you grew up in the church.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do other stuff, like hang with the cool kids.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to hang out with the rappers and stuff like that, and hang out with the rough crowd, but I had to be a prayer service, so that didn't never really work. Saturday, we had to be in church all the time, but that was my background. That was my foundation. We grew up in the Baptist denomination, so that's all I really knew. We didn't get to go to the club till we was like 21, and then I went all the 5 times when I found out that alcohol cost $5 a glass. I was like, this ain't for me.
So how do you think being raised up in the church and not being able to do other things has affected you thus far, like in the decisions that you've made?
Oh, it kept me. Where I hear young girls who started drinking early, I think my mom set the bar, because it was never a struggle for me not to drink, because I didn't see that in the house. And it was never a struggle for me to have a whole lot of male relationships in and out of my house, because I didn't grow up seeing that in the house. She didn't really do that. Cussing wasn't something I grew up seeing in the house, and so she laid a foundation for me. So I really started ministry at a young age. So I started my own. I was telling someone not too long ago, I've been in leadership since I was in the 3rd grade. You know,
Wow.
I remember leading my first club. Got some elementary girls together and we started our first club. So I've been leading something for a long time, and we would go around certain holidays to the other classrooms and sing at the other classrooms. Even though I couldn't sing, you know, I knew how to get people together. And that's what I just knew, but it was my foundation. Praying was our foundation. It was just how matter of fact, I remember the first Sunday I didn't go to church. My daughter was born. In the hospital. I was 21, and the doctor said I couldn't go, and I was like, not go to church? We're gonna get in trouble. And you know, that was a major thing for me, but I'm grateful for that foundation, because it has guided everything that I've done up until this point right here.
So as far as your education, do you think that being in the church and being a leader at an early age, you said 3rd grade, did that translate into your education? And like
no. No. I could lead, I could talk very well, but when I was in elementary, comprehension wasn't a strong thing for me. So when I would read, I didn't always comprehend what I read, and so my other gifts to speak compensated for my lack of ability. And so I wasn't good at reading. I didn't learn my multiplication facts until much later in life, so I didn't really feel strong academically. Even when I came on this campus, I was replaying some of the lies. I know them to be lies now, but I didn't. Then I remember a high school teacher telling me, it's okay that you're not good in math. Most black people aren't. That's why you never have black math teachers. And living in Washington State, I was like, yeah, that's why I ain't good at math. That's why I really don't get it. It's because of the color of my skin. And I believe that, and unfortunately for me, I didn't know it was a lie that blacks weren't math teachers till I moved to Texas 10 years ago.
wow.
And I came to Texas and saw blacks as principals, leaders in banks. I'd never seen multiple blacks work in one bank at the same time. Black male and female teachers. And so my kids grew up here going to school in Texas. So I didn't know that was not the truth. That there were many, many black math teachers until 10 years ago.
So with that being said, what were some of your influences? You know, since you said that that teacher told you that and you believed it, what influenced you?
I was in church
Role
one
models.
night. I was in church. Two things happened. I was in church. Well, first I'll back up to this. My daughter, I have a 26-year-old daughter, and her name is Majesty. And I was sitting in the welfare office, and I remember being angry. I was like, here I am being the stereotype I didn't want to be. I'm black, I'm single, I have no degree, and I'm pregnant. And I remember that being, for me, the very first time I heard the voice of the Lord. And the Lord was like, you're going to name this baby Majesty, and I'm going to change your whole life, because this baby is not going to believe just what you say, but what you do. And I left the welfare office that day. I didn't even know how to drive. Back then I was 21, 22, I didn't even know how to drive, I couldn't drive. I left the welfare office, I got on the bus, and I went and enrolled in school. But I was scared about the decision of enrolling in school, and I remember I was sitting in church, and a friend of mine, she's like, well, what do you want to do, what do you want to do? And I was like, I think I want to help people, you know, with their thoughts and stuff like that, but that's a lot of school. And I remember these words she said, just do it. She said, just go do it, go back to school. And it seems strange that them 3 words means to everything. I did. I went back to school. I took my daughter with me. We went to class together. You know, as a baby, just everything I did, my motivation was that she would never think she couldn't do it. Yeah. And I would sit in classes thinking that they were hard. But fortunately for me, I ended up making it on the Honor Society in college, something I couldn't do in high school. But I was a leader always in high school. I was Miss Future Business Leaders of America. I just had an ability to get people together to make a decision, you know. But school really came one block at a time. So just this past October, I got my doctorate degree. So I said one day I'm gonna be doctor. They'll say, is there a doctor in the house? And I'm gonna say yes. And that was my goal. But it was just one really block at a time. It was because I had to override a lot of lies I had believed about myself and my own abilities. But my every move was to raise the bar for my kids.
So the time framing. So when you said you were in the welfare office.
So I was in the welfare like 21, 22, 23 years old.
So then you had Majesty. And then,
I had Majesty.
And then you said you went to college.
I did. I went to enrolled in a community college, and I had received my first degree and my associate's degree in human service. So I was working with young, at-risk youth and everything like that. And at that time still, I didn't know how to drive, so I was catching the bus. I was working. I remember, like, I couldn't, so my mom would basically keep her while I went to school. Everything I did, I just wanted my daughter to just see it better. I didn't have it horrific like a lot of people that I get to meet, but I just wanted it better for her. I just felt like that was going to be the first step, to get her into private school, get her into the best schools. And so I basically went to work so I could put her in private school.
So it sounds like your daughter is very important to you. Is that like the starting point to where you're like,
oh yeah,
jumping start?
Yeah, she was the motivation to just do better. I really, even where other mothers were, you know, just enjoying the baby being cute and everything like that, I went through just a depression right after, because I was like, what am I going to do with a baby? You know, this is not what I wanted. But I just like mothers that used to play with their kids. For me, I was just very structured. That was the only way to handle it, is just to be responsible. Everything was about responsibility. I remember one day when she was like 3, she was imitating me. She had a doll, and she was telling her grandmother, watch the baby, I gotta go to work, watch the baby. And she had a briefcase going to class at 3. And I was like, that's me? Is that me? And my nephew was like, I don't want a wife. And she was like, I ain't got time to be a wife. I gotta go to work. I gotta go handle my business. And I was like, oh my God, this is what she sees. And so she would always wear little suit coats to school, you know, but that was, she was. I have 3 kids now, Majesty, King, and Jesus. King is my 18-year-old, and he's getting ready to go to school. He just signed with Emmanuel University. Very brilliant kids. And then my youngest, his name is Jesus, and he's at Booker T. And just basically everything I've done, because my kids, they got to see it. I had to see it. I didn't have anybody to see it. I didn't have my mom who finished, well, my mom, she did go to early childhood education, so I got to see it on that note, but no one directly in my family had a degree.
So you're the first one in your family?
I'm the first one in my siblings to get a degree, but now I got a sister who's going to college now. She's just got her degree, Angela Jacobs. And so, I mean, everything I did, I was knowing somebody, I was blazing the trail for somebody. You asked me about ministry in church. even in that arena, it was like everything that I was going to be in, I ended up leading in that. When I started pastoring really young. Shortly after my daughter was like 4, I started in ministry. And but it wasn't really received well when a woman being in ministry in the denomination that I grew up in. So,
right.
you like, if that was like terrible. So that was like the first time you just push back. But it taught me though, everything that I deal with in politics now. I realize now what I learned in church, the highs and lows, the rejection, the setbacks, was really preparing me for what I'm going through right now. Politics was a setup.
Okay. So we're here, we're telling your story. Why do you want to tell your story? What's the drive for telling your story now?
I had so many excuses not to be here. I had a lot of setbacks. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the support. I didn't have no reason. I wanted to tell it because I thought, I said, I'm going to be good. I thought maybe somebody else was told the lies I was told. Maybe they're in school, but secretly they still don't think they can keep up. Maybe they're going through a divorce and have lost it all and think that I still can't go forward with my education. I just wanted to be a witness that giving up is not even an option. I'm blazing the trail for a generation that maybe haven't even been born yet. And some people are, why do you put up with this? Why do you do this? There's somebody that just needs to hear that it's possible. I'm the mayor now of Wilmer, Texas, in a city that has never had an African American to run for mayor, let alone win. I won by 2 votes. Not 12, not 20. Two people got up and changed the course of history for my city. And there were so many things that I was told I couldn't do because I was a woman. Things I couldn't do because I was a black. And I couldn't do because I was thick. And I couldn't do because I was a Christian. But every one of them proved to be a lie. And I wanted to tell my story because I think many people say Barack Obama did nothing for us. Donald Trump did nothing for us. And I beg to differ in this one situation, that watching them should have at least convinced you to try to run. If you think he's ignorant, or you think he's a racist, or you think he didn't help black folks, if you think he doesn't help white folks, or whatever you think, they should have convinced you to get up and do your part. To quit complaining long enough to find out what it's like on this side. The only reason I do not really bash any political official is because now I'm on this side. It's easy. It's easy to bash when you've never been on this side and you don't know the oppression and you don't know the struggle and you don't know the battle. It's easy to see and judge when you're not on this side. But I wanted to tell them to bring hope, or if I have to double D-dog dare you. I dare you to try to make a difference. I dare you to not let the excuses hold you back. I didn't think I had enough money, so that meant I had to knock on every door. I didn't think I had a big enough team, so I had to talk as though I had a team. I had to get my kids to be the team, my neighbors to be the team, my church to be the team. And so people say, what do you hope to encourage somebody to do? There are several mountains of influence. There's a mountain of entertainment, there's a mountain of religion, there's a mountain of science, there's a mountain of government. I dare you to take one of the mountains. Just go to the highest that you possibly can. Do all that you can. If you do it, you have very little to complain about. You have very little to be frustrated about. And in the end, I feel like you'll find you've blazed a trail for somebody else. We're up right now for a new... I heard a man say this morning, he said, you know, don't brag about being the first. But the thing about being the first, you only say the first if there's going to be somebody else behind you. Other than that, you say, I'm the only. And so I'm excited about being the first. But right now, in my city, it's time again for 3 other candidates to run. And like never before, I'm getting to see African Americans run. They're getting out from behind their seat and they're running. Their name is going to go on the ballot. And for everything that I've been through, just as a mayor, that they're doing to me, they're like, well, you've been fought on this, but for somebody else to get up and run, that's all you want somebody else to do, is that the struggle is not in vain if I get you to do it, if I get you to do your part.
Wow, that's deep. So you're here talking about racism.
Yeah.
And your experiences with racism. Can you tell me about that?
You know, I can go back, way back to high school. I was trying to think about one significant thing I could say, but when you really look back, you realize how much, and it's changed so much. People say, well, you haven't experienced racism because it wasn't like it was 60, 70 years ago. You're not being hung for reading. So you haven't experienced racism, you know, they say, but when you're not teaching an African American to read, you're passing them through, it's just different. You just branded it and molded it and labeled it different, you know. And when you see you get to go to the nice buildings for school now, but you're not teaching me about economics. So it's just a different way. We used to be hung for reading. Now we've been just labeled that you're not good at it. You don't like to read. So to me, it's different lives. But one of the things I probably experienced just recent. So when I ran, I was the mayor. They put my name on the ballot. I ran it against 2 other Caucasian men. And at the last day, when you couldn't take your name off the ballot, my opponent came and he was like, she didn't mark this box for her name to be on the ballot, and therefore she needs to no longer be on the regular ballot. She needs to become a write-in candidate. And so that would a write-in candidate, people, what they don't know, when you become a write-in candidate, people every year go in and write Donald Duck, Minnie Mouse as a write-in candidate. But instead of coming to say something to me when he noticed prior something to, or asking the city secretary to say something to me, they chose to try to take my name off the ballot. Had I didn't have a large income base at the time to be able to fight it. But what I had to do is, God blessed me with some lawyers that really fight against racism and injustice. And they came, and one of my lawyers was Mr. Justin Moore, and he came and fought for me. And we had to basically sue the city, put a restraining order on the city to not be able to go forward in any procedures, political procedures, until they settled the matter. So the city was put on pause for going through any political procedures until I was able to go forward and figure it out. But they changed their mind and let me be on the ballot. And they, many people began to say, you know, she's black. What's the chances of her winning? Don't put a name on the ballot. Just put a name on the ballot. What's the chance of her winning? We ain't never voted for a black person before. What's the chances? And it really changed. It made a difference, you know. But just time and time again, I'm always fighting the stereotype, even for when I got my doctor's degree, just being fought, saying she's black, how can she be a doctor? I don't think her degree is real. Maybe, you know, they just put all kind of things out on the media, and so I've just been fought on everything, just thinking I didn't belong there because of the color of my skin. But I'm a resident, I'm a citizen, my family lives there, and that's all that's required. But I have been fought on every front. You know, I am the only one right now on the council with a doctorate degree. Many of them that are served on there don't really have higher education. But I just...
And what year did you run? When
this,
did you...
I'm the new, like as of 2018, May 5th, 2018,
May 5th?
I am the new
Okay.
mayor. So I've been in just a few months right now.
Okay.
Just different people saying the demographics is changing in my city, but for who's mostly been in office, it's been Caucasians, and so this is really a different stride for us. You know, I just can't even begin to tell you all of the things, roadblocks that they tried to put up, you know, from me running, you know, campaigning, but all at the end of the day, you get to say, as I won. They say you mad. You don't get mad when you don't stay mad when you win. You know, you can stay bitter if you lose, but, you know, I won, and that I also won because many people are encouraged to get up off the sidelines, too, so that's a win for me, too.
So how was the community as far as what was going on, the issue of you being pulled off the ballot or not pulled off the ballot? How did the community react and the media in the area react?
Oh, so that was big. You can kind of Google that now. I was 8 months ago. I wasn't Googleable. You can Google me now because when this came up, the media did get involved. You know, we weren't even on the map. Nobody even knew where Wilmer was. So the media did come out and they did do coverage. And when people heard about it, it did cause people to be a little bit more aware. When people got to hear it on the news, that I was being taken off the ballot like that, you know, because there were other opponents who their application was not correct either, but they gave them an opportunity and notice enough to make those changes. I was not being given those opportunities in that timeline to make those changes. And even though they would say, well, it's your responsibility to be aware, there were just some other options that they could have chose.
Right.
It's funny because they tried to change what they label racism as right now. And so they want to say now that ain't racism. You just didn't do this, or this is just the way we work it, or this is just our company policies. And so now you're kind of almost pointed at to say, when you do say it's racism, that they telling you that it ain't racism. So they define what racism is to you. And so the wonderful thing about this is you get to define it what it is to you. And some kids, you know, that are coming along now, they're telling you that it is not racism. It's just, you know, a few bad apples, it's a few bad cops, it's a few bad politicians, it's a few bad this, and it's just your bad break. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about it, is they're telling you what it's not. Even though you're experiencing it and you're walking through it, it's like telling you that shirt is not burgundy. They tell you it ain't burgundy long enough, it's now got you questioning, it might not be. This might be a deep purple. I don't, and that's the reason why I want to say that. I want to tell you what it is, and I want to tell you that it's real, but it's not enough to paralyze you.
So how do you think this has impacted your life? Like this whole thing with you running for mayor, the obstacles and the racism, how do you think it's impacted your life? How do you think it's going to impact you as being a mayor?
So that was one of the questions they asked me on the news. They ended up coming out to me because I wasn't working. I was a housewife. I've been a pastor all my life, but I would say the biggest impact is to tell me that there's nothing I can't do. And that sometimes to many will make you a threat. I was before I became a mayor. I originally started because I knew I was a pastor in the city, and I wanted to. I felt like you can be a pastor and not, your community not feel you. And so I initially just started out wanting to be involved in, my church, be involved in the community. And so I got involved in the back to school rally and just got different companies involved. And I just originally wanted to do that. And I started finding out some things that weren't right that the system was doing. I found out some things that, do I keep going? I found out some things that that weren't going right in the system, and so when I started bringing it to their attention, they tried to pull me off of the committee. And so I was initially on like an activity committee in the city, and so when they pulled me off of that, I felt like the Lord just said, pull back. It's okay. I was like, Lord, they shut the committee down. I was trying to help. I was trying to be a part. He was like, just don't worry about being on the committee. Pull back from being on the committee, and the next time they see you, you're not going to be trying to be on the committee, you're going to run for mayor. They probably feel like they wish they left me on the committee, maybe. They were planning for the committee. But, I would plan things and I would do things, and I remember one of the things I wanted to do, I was like, well, we don't have a school in our city. We have a preschool. That's it. All of our schools shut down many years ago. We're trying to get one built. So all of our kids get bussed out. And I wanted to do a back to school rally, and so I'm like, well, as the mayor, I want to make sure, I want to lighten the load because I've been a single parent. I want to lighten the load to make sure our kids get the best school supplies, and I didn't want it to just be kids that was low income. I wanted to be, if you lived in the city, you got the same struggle as I got. You just got the same situations. Even if you do got more money, every kid needs more than one backpack. I wanted them to have the best backpack, and I remember being so excited to be on the council, so I was going to have the first mayor's back to school rally like the other big cities like Houston, and the council didn't want that. So they was like, as a council, we are not going to support the mayor's back to school rally. The mayor will have to do it on her own. And I had 10 days to get the money to do a back to school rally for the whole city. Now, if they would say, that ain't racism, man. You just got the wrong end of the stick. But they never did that to nobody else before. They would tell you that, but like I said, I'm doing this not to just point out the terror. I'm telling you, you still can become unstoppable. You still can become unshakable. I did that thing. We service well over, 600 kids, and we just came, companies came from all over just to make sure it was a success. Sometimes when you don't quit, God will add more to your team. You will find people that will join in the fight with you. And the key is to not give up. But the mayor's back to school rally went over very, very well. We got this, service, all the kids, get them uniforms, things that had never been done before. I tend to wake up a few history shape makers in this time. Dare to find out what hasn't been done and do it.
So you said the committee was like, no, we don't want to do the mayor's backpack.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's a struggle
Oh.
with you being the first African American female mayor of this?
Oh, yeah.
So is there a pushback? Pushback on like, this is what I want to do?
Everything. On everything I try to do. On everything I dare to try to do, it is a pushback. But I think the brilliance in it is to find a way. Because, you know, normally it would have been something that maybe the city could have gave money to, or the city could have got behind and stuff like that. But you always find people that'll get behind you when you're trying to do what's right. And so they, on just about everything I try to do, because everything I came to the table because I had new ideas. And so for them, it feels like I'm changing everything. Change is coming. It's inevitable. And you just want to be the one that's leading that. And so everything that I try to plan now, and that's what I really try to go for the younger generation, between 18 and 40, you know, you feel like you cannot make a difference. You feel like there's nothing you can do, that the system is already set. But if I could not do anything, I do not believe I'd still be here. I believe that we still have breath because there's still something we're supposed to be doing. A significant change we're supposed to be able to make. When I talk to almost everybody, they can account where they almost could have died, whether it had been by a car accident, whether it could have been at birth, whether it could have been getting with a man you shouldn't have been with, or a woman you shouldn't have been with, that for some reason you could have lost your life. But if you did not, there's a purpose in it. I heard a person say that I don't believe everyone is to be a world changer. I don't think that's true. Now, what part of the world you're supposed to change, that's unique and to each individual. But some way, somehow, the simple interviews talking to you, you will never believe that there is nothing you can't do talking to me now. I didn't know who was going to interview me. But if I'm just talking to just you, babe, live so full, die empty, die with having done everything that's in you, even if you fail. I don't know who's going to watch this. But if I've done this to say I've made enough mistakes, you know what? I told them, if in my city, I said, they got to run. It would normally be they won because only 2 people would ever run. 3 people would ever run. But I promised them that they would never have a race like that again, where 2 people just ran in this city, even if they did. And I'm going to tell you, on this time, at least 7 is run. They've never had that.
Wow.
They've never had that. And it only takes one somebody, like I said in the beginning, somebody leaned over to me and told me to just do it. Nicole, if I came all the way from Dallas, if we don't say nothing else in this interview, don't you let nobody put you in the box. Don't you let nobody tell you about what you're not capable of doing. And the whole reason you here, it ain't even about you. It's about somebody that you don't even know their name, Nicole, that's watching you defy the odds, and that's all they're looking at. I've been in ministry all my life, but I have found out this one thing, that I'm the Bible they read. And I'm always preaching. Just every now and then I use words. And I realized that, you know, people say, well, you left the pulpit, you left preaching, you know, to go over here to be in the government, to be a politician. No, this is a whole nother level of ministry. I didn't leave the church. Right now, the church is having it real hard because the government is imposing a lot of policies, but this is how the church invades the government. This is what it looks like. But we quitting because it is hard. We quitting. And I had to make this, you know, people saying they're paying you to do this. No, I just we quitting, and therefore you make it easy for them to get frustrated. And that's what has happened in my city. I'm not the first to want to try to make a difference, but I'm just the first that didn't quit when they did stuff. I'm not the first that wanted to, get out there and do stuff and set something up. They just sabotaged them and set their things aside, and so we just threw up our hands and quit and did it in another city. But if this video says I'm struggling and I'm hurting, but I'm going to do this anyway, that's legacy for me. If I just came for you, I'm all good with that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Let me compose myself. So how do you feel about telling your story today?
I'm glad. I was thinking, because I got my good hair on.
You look good, girl. You look good.
That's what you don't, and you don't think that there'll be no struggle. They say, I got on some cute red boots. But I'm going to say, and I always look cute because it just, to remind myself to act like I look. Because sometimes, they're waiting on you to act a fool. They're waiting on you to be mad. But I dress up, and I just people, I don't believe in dressing up, and I don't believe in take all of that. I believe there's a demon called it don't take all that. I do. I think, and this demon will tell you don't take all that, you don't gotta do all that. But when you realize the fight and the struggle, it do take all that. They say, why, Mary, you always got it with heels on, you always dressing up all cute. I tell them they'll never be concerned about when I'm dressing cute. Now, the day I come in here with no wig on, no 3 eyeshadows, and tennis shoes, we might need to be concerned about that day. But as long as I'm looking cute, I'm going to act cute. I'm going to act like I got some sense. And I wanted to tell I feel good because most times you don't even get to defend yourself. If you're going to be successful, you don't always get to get on and defend yourself. You can't. You can't. I see people battle back and forth. When somebody says something about them, they get on the media. But if you planning on being successful, you can't comment to every negative thing that's said about you. You can't get on and go back, and that's the era, sometimes people get caught and you want to justify yourself, and so therefore you get into this slinging match. But an opportunity like this, when you just get to tell your side, it's good, because sometimes you think don't nobody want to hear that. It's good because if you do hear it, and that's the thing, I just knew if I didn't give up, it would be impossible. I talked about my daughter. It would be impossible. It's impossible for my daughter to give up. It's impossible. Even not that she don't ever want to. But she knows what not giving up looks like now. So I think it is the best vengeance if I can encourage somebody else now. So now we a team. Now this won't be a rarity. It'll be just common. This is what we do. I grew up thinking that blacks were not good at math. So when I go to other schools in the city, and I went over to the elementary, and I was telling them that I'm the mayor, and they was like, we can be the mayor?
Wow.
In 2019, they still like, and look, you couldn't tell them that. They had to see that. They had to see me, hear me, touch me. You know, I go to the prison and I tell fathers, you've seen the future now. You know, or why you need to go back and be a good father. They're going to try to steal hope from your kids, like they stole hope from you. But you can see what your child is capable of being. In my city, it's not about having a degree so you can be a mayor. It's not required. In my city, it's not required to be the judge, that you have a law degree. It is required that you be a good citizen, a good character. And you can be the judge in our city. It's not required, you know, to have a lot of money to be a councilman. Some of them are on Social Security. You just have to not let them make you quit.
So with everything that you've said as far as being a mayor, don't quit, what do you think we should do going forward to help battle racism, or so that the same things that happen to you becoming a mayor won't happen to the next person running, whether it's a Hispanic or a woman or someone that's black?
So I hear people saying, I'm not going to vote for you just because you black. That ain't going to be the reason I'm going to give you my vote. If it's not possible for you to find a way to get to know them, give them a shot. I argue against that because I think that's the effects what racism has done to us, to not stand together. That the fact that you would run in the middle of all this mess, that I want to find out why you would do it. And so I would say, do your best to find out about who to make. I say this because I see the church is having struggles too. You know, we're mad and we're voicing, you know, what's going on with those that are in the political arena. But in the church, I'm glad that we have a sick and shut-in prayer list. I'm glad we pray for the deaconess. But we need to start building a governmental prayer team. I think our prayer life needs to go on a whole nother level. You need to start praying for your region. I think that's the big thing is if you praying, but pray for their mindset, pray for their heartbeat, pray for their marriages. So many people who get in this office, especially for women, they end up losing their marriage because now they're over having to lead. They're wearing this one hat. And so then the marriage sometimes make a sacrifice. And so you have to come together. You have to find ways to come together. So you need to, I just feel like for us, you have to find a way to get celebrated. I think that's what's big for me, because when you go through so much oppression, when you get around something like this that celebrates your difference, man, it gives you the reason to stay in the ring. Why does every boxer stay in the ring? When they knock down and they're almost about to count, it is always the cheering from the sideline to get up. No boxer fights a real match where nobody is standing there watching. And so, man, write your official, tell them don't quit. Tell them I'm praying for you. Tell them the decision they made that wasn't good, but but I'm still praying for every other area of your life. You don't know, what they're going through. If they can still pull their pants up, if their body is in pain, they still going through stuff. And so I think I wanted to be able to show that I still am a real person, even though I sit up on that stage and I hold the gavel in my hand. Man, they fought me on everything. They told me my name is too long. They couldn't put it on the thing. And I don't know if they shorten your name, figure out a way to do different. Like, I don't care if my name was Ukuku Shidakumani. Figure out how to put it all on there. If it was real, I mean, just everything. We can't get you the gavel that you like. I mean, you just go through all kind of stuff. And so for me, I'm hoping that people will go to a city council meeting. One of the reasons, a lot of things, you elect an official and then you get mad that the official doesn't do the things that you want. But my campaign is to get us to come back to the meetings, get us to get involved. There's economic development boards that regular citizens can be in, and that means no major corporation can move into your city without the 5 of them people. It's 5 people that sit on an economic development board in every city. Those people have to be just live in the city. They don't have to have no education, no nothing. It's good if you do have some experience, but they just have to live in the city. Nothing gets brought into your city without, there's the library board. If there's something now happening, I found out in my city that we didn't have no books older than 1970 in economics in my library. Got a large fiction department. And so my campaign is to get more people to live in our community. There's like, you can count how many Black history books that are in our library. So I got to get more people out just to go make the library in order. Black history library. I mean, books on our history, just to have it in the library. She says, well, no one ever comes and asks for it. Do you hear how big? No one comes and asks. We don't have it because no one comes and asks for it. So she was like, Mayor, you're the first to ever ask a book on economics. We're going to have to borrow it from another library and get it. So my thing is to get on the library board, get into something where we infiltrate every area of influence. Nicole, find a way to get in an area of influence. Speak your piece. There's a big train that goes through our major train, our city on the verge of rising and becoming a successful city. We don't have a store in our city. So we're mad that we don't have a store in our city. We got to go to Lancaster, Cedar Hill, other cities to go to the store. We got to drive 15 miles away to go get a fresh tomato. But we can come together and we can do a farmer's market. We can come together and do a vendor's day. We can make the city say something. And so sometimes you just feel like you can't do it. You need somebody to tell you your voice matters. Your vote matters. You getting out and saying something. And normally we say something, nothing's done, we walk away. But you keep saying something till something happens. And every mayor is looking for some people that will partner with them. Every mayor is looking for people in the community to get involved with them, to help them do something in the school system, to do something in the community, to do something for the senior citizens. Every mayor is looking for some people to say, we'll be a part of the mayor's club. What can we do? How can we help the seniors? How can we do it? Every.
So how do you get the community involved? Because we're talking about changing political status.
Literally, for me,
racism, political, how do you get the community involved to say, I'm not going to quit, I'm going to push forward, I'm going to go for this office, I'm going to do something to change my community?
So for me, it's a two-phase. It's a two-phase. One is you literally have to get out and knock on the door and tell them face-to-face. Because we're getting all of our media news and information through the news and through school. And if school ain't telling you, you feel like you don't need to know it. So we literally have to go knock on the door. I could put it in writing. Unfortunately, we're not reading everything that we're getting. So you literally have to go and knock on the door. And then 2, you have to develop a committee that will develop programs. Now, I once heard a quote, in this vast ocean of people, you may not be able to save them all, but you'll definitely make your splash. And that meaning every committee might not make the change for every single thing, but you just do one little piece at a time. When God spoke to Abraham, he spoke to Abraham knowing he was speaking to one nation. When he spoke to Isaac, he knew that he was speaking to a whole nation. When I speak to you, Nicole, This right here, talking to you, I'm talking to a whole nation of people that will never know my name. But because of what I'm saying to you right now, I'm making change. That's why I don't quit. My daughter, these are my covert plans to change in the world. Every one of my kids are going to change the world in where they at. And I don't care where they live. And I don't care how much money they have. They're going to rise to the top. I don't care if they have to do it with a backpack and a pamphlet. This right here, because this is my gift. Other people write books. That's their gift. This is my gift. So I make you believe. That voice inside says that it is there. Racism is real. It's happening. Even if they tell you it ain't happening, it's happening. You just have to not let that stop you. It wasn't popular. I wanted to let my campaign slogan be hashtag nothing's impossible. Because that's what they kept telling me, that it was impossible. That's not the political. You have to do something like bring change, build bridges. That's the political. That's the political thing you have to. But that was the thing that when I kept saying I don't got nobody with me. I don't got nobody this, you know. But I prayed this prayer though. I said, Lord, let everything that has worked against me in the past work for my good this time. The color of my skin. There were people who voted for me because of my color. There were people who voted for me and that helped me simply because I was fat and thick. Now, thick hasn't always worked for me in the past. They were like, you're a thick sister out here trying to do it. We're so happy for you. You know, my religion, that I voted for you. I'm out here and helping you simply because you are a Christian. And say, you know what? Most times Christians don't always work with Muslims. But there was a team of Muslim brothers that came and for them, knocking on doors was no hard thing. They was like, I told them I want to hit this whole area. And I said, there's 300 houses in this area. There was like 300 houses. We hit 1,000 houses a day. I said, is that what y'all do in them suits? And they was like, no, don't even. And a whole team of Muslims came out. Now, I'm part of any sorority, but some sorority sisters came out and and for me, one of the ways we defy racism is working together. Racism gets to reign so much because we don't even work together. So God sent a lot of people to help me in different areas. And so that is what let me fight against the racism. And so people of different colors just coming and telling me that I couldn't quit, I couldn't give up, of every color saying, let me just stand on the sideline of use and let me pass out one pamphlet. Let me make one phone call. I think it's something. I think everybody should get on a campaign and see what it's like to make phone calls. Get on a phone booth of a candidate. People are like, well, I'm not political. Oh, baby, we all political. We are all political. If you complain about anything that's going on, and that's my other thing too, of doing this video. My son said to me, I was complaining about something, and he said, Mama, if you're going to complain, my youngest son Jesus said, if you're going to complain, don't pray. But if you're going to pray, don't complain. You can't do both. You're going to have to choose which one you're going to do. And I think this is why I'm doing it, is if you're going to complain, do something. Don't spend your day, because you're complaining. The children of Israel, the Bible says the children of Israel suffered for each day they complained, they had to stay in the wilderness 1 year. And for each day, that's 40 years. That's 40 days of just complaining, how powerful complaining is. For every day they complained, they had to wander and struggle for 1 year. And so I just want to snatch that from everybody that's watching. You can complain about it. But the only way to rise above it, the man said you cannot get rid of racism, but I can rise above it. And the way I rise above it is I don't let them stop me from doing what I set out to do. They will have to kill me. But the beautiful thing about killing me now, Nicole, is you have already met me. And anything that they do for me now, you're not going to quit. I promise you that. Your teacher can trust that your life will never be the same because we sat and you're going to do this for somebody else. That's real. And that's what racism was created for, to keep us from moving forward. And the only thing to stop it is to tell you, don't quit.
So, I received that.
Yeah.
I received that.
Yeah.
I received that. Thank you. Is there anything that you want to say that you feel like I didn't ask you about? Anything that you want to tell us that I missed? Any questions that I didn't cover?
So one thing, like when I was running, there were so many things I didn't know because I've been in ministry like most of my life. So there was so many things that I didn't know. So I would go to these council meetings and, you know, because they train you. That's the one thing. So a lot of people don't run because they don't know a lot. But once you get in, they send you to classes and they make you watch videos, parliamentary procedures, you know, so you'll be able to learn. Two things. I want to say everything that you've been through is preparing you for what God has set up for you. You'll find out everything I ever learned, everything I ever went through. I started out talking about being separated from my mom and growing up with Caucasians. I look at now that there was a pattern of everything, that whole life is a whole setup. But when they send you to these classes, one thing I found is there was a group, I cannot even think of the name now, but there's like inside the government, there's a collection of African Americans that come together too, of African American government officials, and they teach us that there's certain mistakes that Caucasians may make. You can't make them. You're going to be held accountable in a whole different way. I was on a committee planning for the back to school rally, and it was so phenomenal because I needed to raise like $8,000 to $10,000 to do this back to school rally. And I was on a committee of predominantly Caucasian people. And not too long ago, they tried to have me investigated. I was on the committee with all of them, but they wanted to have me investigated, saying that I didn't do something right. I just wanted to quit. I was like, man, all I'm trying to do good, and you want to find fault. They tried to have everybody come look, come do, and I wanted to just scream. I wanted to go off. I wanted to just get mad, but I had to stay focused on what the ultimate goal. I'm like, Lord, how come they picking on me? You know, why they picking on me? I was a whole group of us that was on the committee. Why they just doing me? But I realized for the city had never had that much money given to do something. Sometimes when you're doing something that hasn't been done, people tend to think that you're doing something wrong, you know? And so when you get that rejection, you want to quit. I want to tell you this, if you don't get rejection in some of the stuff you're doing, you're probably not dreaming big enough. You're probably not pushing as hard as you probably really can go. But they came back and they was like, you know, we're real sorry. You know, we found out that everything was all good and all right. And some people don't want to go through this. But I think that there have been too many people that have paved the way for us to do something significant, for us to just stick our head in the sand like ostriches and just hope that don't nobody cause waves or, cause nothing. And so I just want somebody to live out loud, see this, and do their part. Don't, man, I thought there was something wrong with me. But I had wrote books. I wrote a book about God, my mom, and me. And just talking about finding the greatness in your kids. Some kids, they iron their pants real well. They iron every day. They don't like to be wrinkled. And now some parents think that's a nuisance, that they don't like. But that might be a gift. You know how much cleaners make, just ironing your pants. You might need to get your son a printing press and find out, kids who talk, a whole lot. Your kid might need some drama classes. And it's all about finding the greatness in your kid and finding out if you can market that. I tell my son, we're going to find out. My son was in the 2nd grade, and he said, Mom, I want to have my own business too. Everybody else got their own business. All my kids had their own business before they was 10. And he said, I want to have my own business too. I said, it's got to be something that you love to do. It's got to be something that you want to do. I truly push entrepreneurship. We teach the system. Go to school, go to college, get a good job. That's not the way of the world really now. You got to learn how to do economics. You got to learn how to do money. You got to learn how to manage your money. If your kid says that they don't want to go to college, make sure that they understand money. I teach my kids to confess, I love money, I understand money, I know how to work money, I know how to handle money, I know how to make my money make money. If you can do that, you got some options. I taught them to understand their gift. And to learn how to use it. My son said in the 2nd grade, Mama, the only thing I love, you said I got to have something I love, and the only thing I love is candy and ice cream. So I went to the Costco, and we bought like $20 worth of candy. And we went to the dentist's office, and I said, if you could sell to the dentist, Mama will back you in anything you do. And he had this little briefcase thing, clear briefcase that you hold little pictures in. And he went in there and he said, Sir, I really like your shoes. My desire is to stop world hunger. And the way I want to stop world hunger is to make sure all kids everywhere have candy. Have you had your candy today? And the dentist looked up and said, well, no, young man, I have not. He said, well, love the candy, love the sweetness, da-da-da-da. And not only did the dentist buy the candy, everybody that was sitting in the lobby area that was waiting, the lady, she was a diabetic. She said, but boy, you sold that, I'm going to buy it. My son been on TV, everything. But I said, you're not going to have no cavities, you're not going to have nothing. We worked the money. He would know which, I learned the difference, but I learned that chocolate wasn't candy. He said, Mama, that's chocolate, that's big people candy. My friends like Mike and Ike's, and he knew his market, who he needed to market to. I was like, oh, and my thing is, when you find out your greatness, look for the greatness in somebody else. You holding it down right now, interviewing me. You're doing a phenomenal job, staying in the flow. You belong on TV. Don't let nobody tell you different. Don't wait for nobody to put you on TV. If you have to create your own channel. Why do this? I was asked. I think it's a perfect opportunity. But if I get to say how anybody gets to stop it, find them as young as you can. What the movie say? You are smart. That was a powerful thing. You find a kid, a man, a boy. It's hard out here for a black young boy right now. A girl, and tell them how phenomenal and great and spectacular they are. They don't need a whole bunch of people to tell them, just one that really believes it. When you know you're great, you know greatness when you see it. It needs no introduction. When I saw you today, you could have asked me anything. But if we didn't even record today, Nicole, I saw the greatness, and I want you to be looking for it everywhere you go. When you see it, you identify it. It's the only way to cripple racism. It only thrives off of people not knowing the greatness. That's how it's always been able to thrive. How did it ever thrive before? We didn't know our greatness. We didn't know our potential. We didn't know what we were capable of. We were always strong. We were always smart.